Welcome folks, welcome to the Man in the Shed. My name's Ian and welcome to my channel. Welcome to my shed. Oh, you can see there in the background I've been a busy lad. Found it very therapeutic, very enjoyable. It's just nice that when you rip apart you're thinking, ka-ching! But this video is about my first modification to the wire stripper. It didn't take me long, I'm telling you, to get the hang of this wire stripper. The last video, I know it went on for a bit. I explained how that cutting blade had to be directly in the centre to avoid your cable skipping up either side. It still did it. I actually found out that the majority of that, what I've done, I did without the guide on. I'll demonstrate that now. First of all, I've got a reel of the same size cable. Now, this is probably about 4.5 millimeter thick diameter, should I say. The first hole on there is bit less. That's a 5mm drill bit, which just won't go through. It just kind of starts on that, so it's just under 5mm. That size of cable will just fit through that guide nicely. As I explained in the other video, the distance between the back of that guard and that cutting area is about 30mm, and it just gives you too much waggle room for that to bend either side, and that was my problem. So I took it off and I found out that if I fed it from underneath, got it going first of all, and then I put a little bit of tension on it and a downward angle, I could do it quite well. Not a problem indeed. Coming out with a very nice split down the entire seam, and it works just quite as well motorised. And that's still with this coming with a downward with an upward feed. I need some more of this to complete the experiment. Making it very easy to strip. I've even let it go through with some kinks in, and it still went through with no problem. But, and there's a big but, I'm not called Stumpy Nubs. Although that isn't sharp, it is pointy, and I'm holding something that wants to drag my fingers or thumb in there, which I don't want it to do. And there has been a couple of occasions indeed where I've pressed a bit too hard and it's jumped forward. You know, I don't want to hold that tight, you just want to hold it slack. But I want to do away with that danger anyway. You know, if you're doing this and you've had a few beers or bevies or whatever, it's not technically using machinery. Well, it kind of is. But I could still give myself a nasty gash, I guess. Or a crushed digit, which I don't want. So I want to modify that, and I've had some suggestions. I don't know if you noticed, I've got the drill set on an angle like that. Initially I had it that way and I was leaning against it to stop the rotational force. Found out if I did it like that, then the top prevents it from rotating, so I can just press the trigger. Like you say, slow geared, variable speed. I can have it going slow, I can have it going fast, I can have it going really fast. I don't want it going really fast. Right, let's chat about the modification. Right, I did explain there's a 30mm gap between the back of that blade guide and the cutter, and I wanted to shorten that. My idea was to find a route around, you know, my gubbins, and find a bush, a tube, make a new plate, weld the tube on the back. I thought about using one of them ends off the fire extinguisher. You know, that would be alright, and I could just bolt it onto that side through that hole, shorten that to size. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your granny. I had other people suggest, you know, working on the washer side of it, extending the washers down. Good ideas. I think it was Intelligent Tinkering who said, find an old lamp, because inside of every old lamp you'll find a threaded tube. I thought, oh, what a great idea that is. I've always got a few of those knocking around. And there was other ideas. We call them cell-up pins, other people call them other things, spring pins. Find a spring pin the right size that would fit that hole, and you could bang it in and out. But two guys, one Raphael scrapper and the other one all handmade, Guido Wandelt, and Guido actually sent me a photograph and said, here, because he's bought a machine. I know I'll put a link in and everything, and he's bought a machine, and he's already done this modification and sent a photograph of it working. And that was to take something we all have anyway, a nut and bolt. Actually that's a set screw. Set screws are threaded all the way to the top. A bolt has a shank. I think the smallest M10 bolt you can buy is M1035, because the shank ends up only being about 5mm long. So a bolt won't do. It really needs to be a set screw. So I found an M10 set screw. I want it with a bolt, a nut on either side, then I can regulate the depth of what's coming out. Or I could cut the bolt down, set screw down. I'm going to stick it through that big hole. It don't really matter whether it's central, because what matters is I'll be lining up the centre of the hole horizontally with the valley and the blade. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drill a hole straight through there. Well, I'm going to do it that way, and say with a nut on that side like that, I can regulate the depth from that guide to the end, from the back of that guide to the end, to get as close as I can to where the blade meets the valley. simples. That's if I can drill a vertical hole freehand. Because there's my pillar drill. And it's a little bit buried. Thanks for the suggestions. See you. So I'll be back after I've drilled this. Rough earth engineering at its best. We'll start with a small drill and see if we can come out the side somewhere. Wish me luck. Well, after some careful drilling all the way through, and you can see where we're coming from here. Right, so we're going to bolt that in place. We're going to adjust the stick out to just right, and it'll be spot on. Now, it's very important when you're doing this that although that is centered, and that's the bit where the wire's coming out, it's very important that you do get that 2.5 degree down slope, so you can feed your wiring at a down angle. And I don't know how many of you are going to believe that, but at least I got all the way through it. Unlike that one, which still has the remnants of my drill bit still stuck in it. That one goes in the scrap bin. Right, let's weigh it up, see if it works. Right, so modification in operation. So we've got this drilled bolt, and it's going to be very difficult for you to see. However, I'll put that down there. I'm just focus down there. Put it from behind. That might be better. Right. Right, if I can turn this handle round, you'll see I have got the end of the bolt as close as I can to the valley where the blade meets the wire. It's possible that you can see I have actually chamfered with an angle grinder, beveled, should I say, the end of the nut to get as close as I can. Focus to that. Anyway, the proof of the pudding is sticking my thing in the hole and see if it goes in. Alright, okay. Right, let's put some light on the matter. Better. Right, now as this is my first trial of it, believe it or not, I'm going to hand crank it. So, using the same brown cable, sticking it in my offset hole, remember, design feature, and well, I see a problem here already. We're shaving off some of the sheathing on the inner side of the bolt, but on the other side, which has to be the side that matters, is we're getting a lovely clean split on the seam without it even veering off to one side or the other, because it can't, can it? Because the outlet of the bolt is so close to the cutting head, it can't veer off either side. The proof of that pudding is going to be when I motorise it, and that is next. Well, here goes. Modification, real life application, part 1. We're just going to pick a cable. That seems good enough. All we're going to do is stick it in the right hole. And it just, you know, when you do this, make sure you get an off-centre hole. That 2.5 degree lean makes all the difference. And in theory, oh yes, look at that, I didn't even touch it on that side. Beautiful, clear, linear split. Yep. Right, you might see these dot, 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 dot. Right, okay. This is because it's braided cable. The cable is going in a spiral. If that was solid core, you'd have a solid split. But you can't because the cable's braided. So there's going to be points where between that point and that point, the cable is going over there, and all you're doing is pressing the blade into, I want to say, a void, which presses the outer sheathing into that void. Unless I tighten it down just a crank, see what happens now. Still a bit same. Hey, still focus. Still the same. You get that dot, 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 dot. Oh well, ladies and gents, what can I say? I've had stuck a few in and stripped them. Whether I've just let lucky and got it just in the right place, but it literally is a matter of just getting a piece of cable, sticking it in the hole, let's focus in, shoving it in as far as it'll go, no fingers, nowhere near the blade, just switch it on. Nothing happens. All right, you've got to give it a little bit of a push in, I guess. Come on, Ian, press harder. There we go. No, it isn't. Well, it's like a two-handed job. Well, I've never had to shove it in with two hands before, but once it's in, and you get a lovely clean, you know, slit on this thing. Boosh out. Right, I'm happy with that. I've got bits of cable left. I really am happy with that, but right, I've just been carrying on, and as you can see, I am running through quite a long length here, but I'm not holding it. Which means my delicate digits are nowhere near that sharp bit in that hole. Right. Am I happy with it? More than happy with it. But there's a big but. Whoa, I'm happy at that. I said but, right. So, shortening the distance between the back of the guide plate and where the blade meets the valley, in this case about 30 millimeters, or inch and 1/8 and 3 little bits, means the blade, the wire doesn't have the chance to waggle to one side or the other. That was me hypothesis. I have now proved the theory. It works. It works a dream. What was the but? I've said 3 times there's a but. It's fiddly to set up. I've got a fixed plate. I've got a bolt going through with an awl. I'll just grab this bit of something I've seen lying on the bench. Don't know what it is. I've got a couple of them. Well, why not? If you're going to have one, you might as well have more than one. Right, that's my guide plate, and I've put a set screw through it, and I can adjust the distance by putting nuts and bolts either side. Nuts either side, bringing it in and out. And that's the problem. Every time I want to adjust it, I have to take the 2 side bolts off, take it off, or slacken them off, adjust it slightly, tighten the bolt back up until I've got it just right. However, if I removed that plate and replaced it with a tapped hole, I would only have to screw that in with a lock nut on one side, not on the other side. So, super modification part 2, if Guido Wandelt doesn't beat me to it, is to make a plate with one 10mm tapped hole in it. Then the only adjustment would be one lock nut on this side. That's modification part 2 coming up. It was disclosed to me by Guido Wandelt from All Space Handmade channel that he himself didn't manage to drill straight through in one go. He got, well, I think he was using a 3.4mm drill, and he got almost to the end and his drill bit snapped. Like myself, the drill bit snapped in the hole. He was fortunate. He'd done some careful measurement. He knew he was just a snadges off the end. All he got is an angle grinder, cut the end off, and he was like, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your granny. Unlike me, I've already thrown it in the bin, so I ain't going in for it. I'd only got so far in, and I hit a brick wall. Enough. I've got more playing to do, more fine tuning to do, and I don't want to keep boring you people to death over wire stripping video after wire stripping video after wire stripping video. Let's tackle that elephant. See you lot in the next one. Take care, everyone. Oh my God, I really shouldn't say this, but do you know what else I've found? That a little bit of lube in a dry hole. Oh no, oh don't, Ian. Makes it just slip in that much easier. What else can I say? Look at that. Beautiful little slit. Oh God, no. Ian, shut up.